In this video for Positive Maths, we're going to learn about proportion. So proportion and ratio are very closely connected. If we take the strip of blocks below, we see that we have 5 orange and we have 6 blue. So we'd say that the ratio is 5:6. So proportion. We can use ratio to find proportion. It can be written as a fraction, a decimal, or a percentage. If we take the blocks below, the proportion of orange squares is 5/11, so this is the proportion written as a fraction, and the proportion of blue squares is 6/11. As a decimal, the proportion of orange squares would be about 0.46, rounded to 2 decimal spaces. And the proportion as a decimal for blue squares would be 0.454. As a percentage then, this would be about 46% and about 54%. So we're going to talk about direct proportion. Let's take an example. If one football costs €5, then 2 footballs cost €10 and 3 footballs cost €15. If we were to write this as a ratio, it would be 1:5. So the ratio of all 3 examples here is the same. We could say 1:5, 2:10, or 3:15. So all 3 of those ratios would be the same because they simplify as 1:5. We therefore say that they are directly proportional. Okay, which of the following are in direct proportion? So we're going to look at the 5 tables and see which are directly proportional. If we take each of these as a ratio in its simplest form, so our ratio for the light blue table, first of all, is going to be 1:2. So all of the other figures below also have the same ratio. So 2:4, for example, is the same as 1:2. 3:6, again the same as 1:2. And 4:8, again this is the same ratio. So we say that yes, this first light blue table is directly proportional. The pink table. If we take the ratio of this table really is 1:3. All of these figures, x to y, will simplify as 1:3. 2:6, that'll simplify to 1:3. So will 4:12. So will 6:18. And so will 8:24. So we can see that if we take the x value as 2, the y value is then 3 times the x value. So 2 by 3, by 3, by 3, and by 3. On our first table, it was each of the x values being multiplied by 2. So directly proportional. Okay, so let's take the green table. We start off with a ratio of 1:4. Then we have a ratio of 5:8. These are not equal. We cannot simplify 5:8 to be 1:4. Therefore, it is not directly proportional. Each time we're adding 3 here, so that's not the same as if we were multiplying it by 3. Okay, let's take the dark blue table. 4:2. We can simplify that down as 2:1. So let's see, do the rest have the same ratio? So 18:9. Again, that'll simplify down to 2:1. So will 46:23. And so will 112:56. So we can see that the x value is double what the y value is. So yes, dark blue table, those values are directly proportional. And the last table we have 8:5. So here we're subtracting 3 from every value to get our y value. Okay, so it is not directly proportional. Okay, let's do some more problem solving. So if a car travels at 200 kilometers on 10 litres of petrol, we need to fill in the table below. So we can see the first one is filled in with the example. So 200 kilometers will take 10 litres of petrol. Okay, so we need to find how many litres it will take the car if it drives 150 kilometers. So, like before we find 150 kilometers, before we find out how many litres that will take, we'll find 1 kilometre. Okay, so if 200 kilometers we'll say is equal to 10 litres, therefore 1 kilometre is going to equal to 10 divided by 200 litres, which will give us 0.05 litres. Now we can multiply 0.05 by 150 to figure out how many litres 150 kilometres will take. So when we multiply that, we get 7.5, and that's the litres. And we'll fill that in here. So we'll go down to the next example where we need to find litres. So we have 520 kilometres. So again, we'd multiply our 0.05, which is 1 litre, by 520. And we'll get 26 litres. And then the last part, we're looking for now how many litres the car will need to drive 300 kilometres. So again, we know how much it will take for 1 kilometre. It will take 0.05. So we multiply it by 300. And we'll get 15 litres. So now we need to work to find how many kilometres the car can travel on 25 litres of petrol and on 16 litres of petrol. The information we are given is on 10 litres of petrol. So we'll do the same but kind of in reverse. So this time we want to find out how far it will travel on 1 litre of petrol. So we divide our 200 kilometres by 10. Which is going to give us 20. So on 1 litre of petrol, the car will drive 20 kilometres. Okay, so now that we have that, we can use it to find how far the car will travel on 25 litres of petrol. So if 1 litre is 20 kilometres, then 25 litres is going to be 20 by 25 kilometres. So we'll get 500 kilometres for this one. And we'll fill that in here. And then the last piece of the table we need to fill in is for 16 litres. So again, we know 20 litres for 20 kilometres for 1 litre. Therefore 20 by 16 for 16 litres. So the car will travel 320 kilometres on 16 litres of petrol. Okay, so we could use this if we were travelling a very long distance and we were very easily able to calculate how much petrol we used, let's say travelling 10 kilometres. If we knew how much petrol it took to travel 10 kilometres, then if we were going on a long journey of, let's say, 300 kilometres, then we could use those figures to calculate how much petrol we would need. For more videos and information, you can go to www.PositiveMaths.ie. You can email us at info@PositiveMaths.ie and find us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching.